What is up, Buckeye Nation? Shane Larson here, also known as the Game Time Guru or the Boise Buckeye. I love chatting with you guys last week. I got to see where everybody was from. Tons of Buckeye fans across the country and even out of the country. So excited to have you guys with us here on Ohio State Football with Scarlet and Gray here on YouTube. If you guys want to get some notifications on our topic, which is going to be about the injury bug facing the Buckeye football program, make sure to hit that bell that's on YouTube. You can get notifications anytime we pop on, when we give you injury updates on a weekly basis and so forth. We want to make sure you guys know when we're chatting and what we're talking about, and we want you guys to jump in here and engage as well. That's part of the entire program and the entire platform here at the Scarlet and Gray Empire. So we love chatting with other Buckeye fans regarding these topics, so hit that bell button. Listen, today we're going to be going over the injury bug. One of the biggest topics against Rutgers was, I was looking at it. It wasn't about the score. It wasn't about the execution and so forth. A lot of the conversation on Twitter was about the injuries that were stacking up. So today we're going to be talking about TreVeyon Henderson, Cam Brown, Tanner McCalister, and a little bit about JSN, who we talked about last week as well. And I know there's a lot more out there, a lot of nagging injuries, but I want to talk about these four in particular because they could play a huge part moving forward with the future of this program. Let's start with TreVeyon Henderson, right? So TreVeyon, here's the story, right? He's out against Rutgers after playing against Wisconsin, after hurting himself against Toledo, right? It seems like a bad math problem, in my opinion. So TreVeyon, as you guys know, goes down against Toledo, comes back in a boot, which was super concerning, but then comes back and plays a great game against Wisconsin. Very stellar performance, in my opinion. I mean, he just got a bulk load of carries, did his thing, and actually made a huge impact. But then, as we're getting ready for this game against Rutgers, he's a game-time decision. All of a sudden, Mayan Williams has a record-breaking performance, or a record-setting performance, I guess, tying performance, as he got the bulk load of the carries, and TreVeyon didn't play. And it seemed a little bit weird, right? And Ryan Day even was quoted saying that he was surprised that TreVeyon didn't play in this game. It appears to be an ankle injury that just keeps nagging him and might have re-aggravated that during the practice. And that's always, that's possible. He played against Wisconsin. Everyone thought he was fine, but maybe he re-aggravated that and it wasn't worth playing against Rutgers. And they thought that it would be a good opportunity for him to rest. But my question is this: are we concerned about his durability, right? Are we concerned about TreVeyon's durability? The other question I want to pose here, and I want to know your guys' opinion, is there some concern mentally with TreVeyon? I don't want to get too ahead of the game and start throwing these conspiracies out here, but it is worth the conversation. Do you think there's a mental block with TreVeyon now that Mayan seems to be getting the bulk load of the carries and he's got the RB1 spot, it seems, right? He's becoming the number one back, and TreVeyon's kind of sitting there. Do you think that did something to him mentally after last year having a stellar performance in his freshman season? And he's got Mayan doing this. He keeps, he's got a little bit of an injury bug hitting him. And then you got Dallin Hayden, who has been getting some carries too. He's lurking in the background. Is there something there for TreVeyon? Is there a bigger storyline there? Do you think that it's a mental block? I personally want to see TreVeyon get back quickly. I expect to see him back against Michigan State based on what we heard from Ryan Day. He wasn't even expecting him to sit out against Rutgers. So hopefully we see him this week against Michigan State and he can get back in the rotation, because I do feel like come November, we're going to need him to play football, because it's going to be bad weather. It's going to be cold, and we're going to rely heavily on the run game. And part of having that dual threat in the backfield was not having to make one guy carry the ball 25 times a game. You can split it up. So would love to see him. The other guy that we're going to be talking about right now is Cam Brown. All right. Our secondary is already thin, and it was expected. I mean, at least they were optimistic that Cam Brown was going to return with Burke in the secondary this week, but he was out. Listen, he's a fifth-year defensive back. And what this secondary needs is the experience and the leadership that Brown brings them, right? And it concerns me, again, that they were confident that he would be back with Burke, which, by the way, Burke had himself, I guess, a hand surgery. Yeah, that it's wild to me. Burke has had a very unfortunate season thus far. There's a lot of passes where he has great coverage, but you just can't see him to adjust when the ball's in the air. We've already talked about that. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But Cam Brown was going to be back there to help out in that secondary. That's already kind of their weak point, right? We already kind of knew that. We were concerned about that. But the good news is Ohio State's not playing against any teams that are an air raid offense at the moment. They really need to strengthen up that front seven on the defensive front. if anything, but it helps when you have your leadership back there. That's something that they need. And Cam Brown is out. Again, it sounded like he should have been able to play or was close to being able to play against Rutgers. We'll see what happens and see if he's back in full force against Michigan State, because Ohio State's about to have their bulk load of their schedule coming up now. And I know Michigan State's record is not that good, and they're not that great of a team right now record-wise, but they can every game is everyone's Super Bowl when they're playing Ohio State. So that's why you have to be concerned when that type of stuff happens. When we're playing these teams that we should blow out, from here on out, those teams know that they've got this marked. And so you need your leadership in the backfield. Speaking of leadership, I want to talk about Tanner McCalister. McAllister goes out in the first half this last week. And that's, again, secondary depleted. We need leadership. McAllister understands Jim Knowles' defense, right? So he understands that. He brought that to the table here, and he is actually a vital piece. I know we don't talk about him a ton, but he's a big piece to that secondary, along with Cam Brown. We need that leadership to help out, because we've got guys that are struggling currently at the beginning of the season, like Burke, who are giving up some big plays. And we really, really need that leadership in the backfield. Somebody who understands where to be schematically. Again, it looks like McAllister could possibly be back for Michigan State. All these guys are kind of like on that verge of being back. But it's also likely that if they think that they can get past Michigan State, they might wait that bye week before they get to Iowa, right? So it's a matter of, can we get by another week with this depleted team right now? Or do we risk being completely depleted and somebody taking advantage of that? It's a question that's worth considering. The last one I want to talk about is Smith-Njigba. You know, JSN, we talked about him last week, and I was taking some of the comments that you guys had put, some of the followers here had put down on the comments thread about what we should expect from him. A lot of people saying, okay, let's just let him wait to at least get to Michigan State. Some people said, let's wait till after the bye week. Some people said, let's wait to Penn State. And then I even heard this one right here, which is worth the conversation. I want you guys to leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. But do we believe that JSN could potentially just hang him up for the year and get ready for the draft? My biggest concern here with him even potentially thinking that, again, I don't want to start conspiracies, but it is worth the conversation, right? I think his draft stock has gotten significantly hurt. Like it's dropped this season because of his durability. I mean, he's been out, and he really had his come-to game against Utah in the Rose Bowl last year. He doesn't have a lot to show everybody, and that could be a concern. So if I'm him, I'm hoping that's not the case. I hope he's not trying to sit out the rest of the season, right? But I can understand the conversation that people are having. I mean, we're a third of the way done with the season, almost halfway done with the season, and he's yet to be able to make a significant impact on this team. So tell me what you guys think about JSN. I would expect to see him in full force against Penn State, or at least maybe Iowa. Give him this game. We should be fine against Michigan State. We've still got some loaded guys on the receiving core. We get a bye week, gets him the rest that he needs. I would love to see him back against Iowa when we start going against the stellar defense like that. So that he can get a rhythm before Penn State. The last thing I want is to see JSN come in against Penn State, right? Who is probably, it's going to be a collision course for that game, and the rhythm's not there. The timing's not there, and it screws up the rhythm and timing of the other receivers. That's what I was talking about last week. So I would love to see JSN maybe give this week off, get through the bye week, come back against Iowa. That's what I want to see. So here's the question, though. These aren't the only guys that are getting injury bugs, right? We've been able to compete. That's how deep Ohio State is. They're able to compete with all of these guys falling apart, but it's because of the opponents. Now we have our first road game of the season. We have our toughest part of the schedule is ahead of us, right? We've been able to get away with it because we've played inferior opponents. Can we do that? Can we still compete if we have these guys out and some of the other guys that are getting banged up? So leave me a comment. Let me know if we can still compete with these guys sitting out. Let us know. Let us know in the comments thread. And I want to hear what you guys have to say, because I am of the belief, man, like sometimes it's not the best team. It's the healthiest team that competes at the end of the season. It concerns me as we're getting ready for the cold part of the year where the weather's tough in the Big Ten and it has a major impact. You got to get physical. You've got to get, you got to get into the trenches. And if we don't have a healthy team to be able to do that, it's not always about who's the fastest team, not in the Big Ten, right? It's about who's the healthiest team and who's the toughest and most physical team. When you get into the college football playoff or you're playing the SEC, you've got athletes. You don't have to worry about the weather as much, so you can just play fast, right? But in the Big Ten, you've got to be able to be tough and physical when it comes to the end of October and November part of the season. So my hope is that we can get healthy. I want to know if you guys think we can still compete as we have this tough part of the schedule going forward. Again, guys, my name is Shane Larson. You can follow me at the Game Time Guru on Twitter. Come check it out. Follow me. This is Ohio State Football with Scarlet and Great. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll be coming to you next time with another one. Take care.